Hi, this is Steve Merril, wagertalk.com, right back here on Wager Talk TV with your college football top 25 preview video for this Saturday, Championship Saturday, December the 3rd. We've got four head-to-head top 25 matchups, including obviously the big title games this weekend on Saturday. Daytime and nighttime action for you free right here on Wager Talk TV. I'm going to give you my database projection, 10,000 simulations on each of these games. I'll let you know where the numbers come out, and then we'll dig a little bit deeper and look at the matchup analysis, see if we can find some advantages against the Vegas line here on Saturday. All that coming up in just a moment right here on Wager Talk TV. Been red hot. Look, I made you offer a couple weeks ago. Get the rest of November when you buy December. I know many of you have jumped on board. We've been just smoking it over 70% all sports the last couple weeks, football and basketball combined. Well, December is here now, and it is the month to be playing because we have the college football bowls right around the corner. Got championship weekend now, bowls around the corner, NFL every week still, and of course, college and pro basketball on a daily basis. That's your bread and butter moneymaker. Right now, get a 3-day all sports for a very special discount. I know if you missed out on that full month, I know many of you sat back, didn't want to make the commitment. You watched winter after winter pass you by. For all those that want to try it out this weekend, I've got a very special discount. 3 days for just 44. Normally it's 59. You're going to get an instant $15 discount with promo code Steve15. Get the next 3 days and nights of all sports for just $44. Once again, go to my page right now, select the 3-day $59 package, enter promo code Steve15, Steve15, and you get that price down instantly to $44. That's an instant 25% discount. Get the next 3 days and nights, whether you want Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Sunday, Monday, whenever you want to start. It's good through this weekend. That promo code Steve15 gets it done. Steve Merril, wagertalk.com, a 3-day all access, $15 off with Steve15. All right, let's look at the four big head-to-head top 25 matchups for this Saturday, December the 3rd. We'll start with the early game at noon Eastern on ABC, and that is the Big 12 Championship. Number 10 Kansas State Wildcats against number 3 TCU. And once again, TCU is the team everyone's keeping an eye on. Everyone keeps waiting for them to lose, and they've yet to do so. And because of that, they are in the top four right now. They win and they get in because keep in mind, just quick playoff scenario here. We've got Georgia number 1. We've got, of course, Michigan number 2. They're both undefeated. They both play on Saturday. We're going to look at that Georgia LSU game here in a moment, by the way. Even if either one of them loses, which is unlikely, they're both more than 2.5 touchdown favorites. Even if either one of them loses, I think they still get in with just one loss. TCU cannot lose. Now, there's some talk that TCU could lose this game and still sneak in. I don't think that's possible. I barely have them in my top 10 in my power ratings even. I run a lot of different sets. In fact, some of them have as low as 15th in the country. So I don't think they get in. I don't think the committee would want them in. And, of course, USC playing Friday night. I'm doing this video on Friday afternoon before that game, so we don't have that result. But obviously USC loses, they'd be out. They win, they're in. But TCU loses this game. That means Ohio State in the 5 spot, maybe Alabama in the 6 spot, or even Tennessee in the 7 spot could leapfrog in, especially if LSU pulls that upset over Georgia. We'll talk about that game more in a moment. But TCU has to get it done here. But that could be a concern because Kansas State, number 10 in the nation, 9-3 straight up, a very dangerous team. And keep in mind, they played earlier this season back in late October, October 22nd. Kansas State lost on the road by 10, 38-28 as a 3.5-point dog, but their quarterback was out there, their second stringer. They were still winning up double digits, and then the third stringer comes in and TCU pulls the win. Kansas State easily could have won that game, probably should have won that game, and they also had a 2-0 turnover deficit. So there's no question this is a competitive game. The current point spread is saying that right now as we see basically as we head into the weekend. Was seeing TCU minus 2.5 yesterday on Thursday. Now, as we head into the weekend on Friday afternoon, it's 1.5. So the line has come down, and it's interesting. The money line on this game was as high as minus 135 when it was 2.5. Now it's minus 125 with TCU as a slight favorite. If you do the math, they had a 56% chance winning at minus 2.5. Now they have a 53.5% chance of winning this game at minus 1.5. So definitely almost 50-50 if TCU gets the win or not. We'll look at my database simulation. 10,000 games in the database has TCU winning by 1.8. So the line moved from 2.5 to 1.5, crossed right over my projection of a 2-point win for TCU. But once again, I would probably side towards Kansas State here, even though the line value is no longer there at 1.5. I thought they outplayed TCU back in October. They've got the revenge scenario, and TCU having to play tight. We often see that work against teams in this scenario. And keep in mind, they did blow out Iowa State last week, but they were lucky to get by Baylor, a last-second field goal, running the unit on the field 2 weeks ago with no timeouts. just kind of feel like they're playing with borrowed time. And Kansas State is clicking right now. 3 straight wins and covers the last 3 weeks. They are coming off the big rival win against Kansas last week, but they got that win by 20. Didn't really have to tax themselves. And their offense has put up 95 points the last 2 weeks. Definitely can make a case for the over in this game. Total in this game opened around the 60 and a half, 61 range. It's now up to 62 in some spots. Still a lot of 61 and a halves out there. I think it'll be a fairly high-scoring game. However, these rematches do have a tendency to go under more times than not, so that would probably keep me off the total. I think the matchup favors the over, but the rematch favors the under historically. So let's see how this one plays out. I think the line is pretty sharp on both the side and total at noon Eastern. By the way, this game in Arlington, Texas, a little bit of an edge maybe for TCU, the home state, but I think Kansas State will travel fairly well for this game also. All right, let's look at the next game. We got a couple games at 4 o'clock Eastern. I'm going to get to that Georgia-LSU game in a moment. But I'm going to talk about one that's flying a little bit under the radar here because these are 2 teams that, once again, you don't think of as top 25 teams, but they are, and that's the AAC championship game, and that's Central Florida at Tulane. This game being taking place in New Orleans, so Tulane will have a nice little home edge here. And right now, Central Florida number 22 in the playoff rankings. Tulane Green Wave number 18. This game at 4 o'clock Eastern, also on ABC, following that Big 12 title game. And this is an interesting matchup, first of all, because they just played a few weeks ago. They played on November 12th, and Central Florida pulled the upset in that game as a 1.5-point road dog. They won that game 38-31. Now, in a similar situation, they're a 4-point dog on the road. So even though they won the game as a smaller dog, the point spread is bigger here. And my power ratings agree. It actually, my database simulation, 10,000 games played on the database, has Tulane winning on average by 4.7 points. So at 4 or less, there probably is some line value with Tulane. This line is as low as 3.5 in a lot of locations. So it does look like it's starting to come back down. I think there is some line value now with Tulane in this one. Central Florida coming off the game against South Florida last week, a high-scoring 46-39 game as a 20-point favorite. Not an impressive win there. Defense did not do very well against a South Florida team that has struggled at times this year. Meanwhile, Tulane was in the nail-biter with Cincinnati, 27-24 as a 1-point road favorite. This is a Tulane team that does not turn the ball over. They've had 1 turnover or less in 6 of their last 7 games. They have forced 2 or more in 5 of those 7 games. So the turnovers will probably decide this game. And Central Florida has been more turnover prone this year. In fact, they have 2 turnovers or more in 4 of their last 6 games overall offensively. So I do think there's a little bit of value with Tulane at -4, -3.5, as my projection is a 4.5-point win in this game. One thing I'll point out, 2 good pass defenses in this one. Both Central Florida and Tulane about 0.5 yard to 1.5 yards per pass better than average defensively. Both teams do not throw the ball all that well. Central Florida is a run-based offense, 244 yards per game on the ground. They had 343 rushing yards against Tulane in the first meeting. That is a concern here. And even though my database does project a 4.5-point win, that's what kept me off this game. Is I don't like going against an underdog that's projected to have the better rushing attack, which is what it looks like Central Florida will have. Here's how I think you should play this game, actually. We don't talk a lot about in-game live betting, but this game really sets up well. I would wait until in-game. If Central Florida has the lead, if they're controlling the pace, I like them to win this game because they can run the ball. But what's going to hurt Central Florida is if they get behind early by 7 or 10 points, because they throw the ball less effectively than they run it. And Tulane, as I mentioned, has a very good pass defense. It's statistically one of the better pass defenses in college football. They give up only 6 yards per pass against teams that average 7.5. So I do not think Central Florida is going to be able to play from behind in this game. So the ideal situation, instead of playing Tulane early, would to be play them in-game. They get up by 7 or 10 points, I think they will pull ahead and control the game. So keep an eye on the in-game opportunities in this one. That might be the best way to attack Central Florida and Tulane at 4 o'clock Eastern. All right, 2 more top 25 games. Going to look at both the SEC and the Atlantic Coast Conference ACC championship games on Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. Quick reminder, though, right now, instant $15 discount on a 3-day all-access by using promo code STEVE15. That's Steve15 at wagertalk.com. Normally, it's $59 for a 3-day all sports. You get it instantly down to $44. 3 days and nights. That's a fantastic value. Works out to less than just over $16 a day for every college football, pro football, college basketball, and pro basketball best bet for the next 3 days and nights. Whether you want to get it on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, this promo code is good through the weekend, and you can use it right now on my page, Steve15, instant $15 off a 3-day all access, Steve Merril, wagertalk.com. hitting over 70% the last 2.5 weeks in all sports. And we look to keep it going with a powerful Saturday college football card. And I love this NFL card. By the way, last weekend, 7-2 last Saturday and Sunday on college and pro football, including a perfect 4-0 NFL sweep on Sunday. We've been hitting well over 60% in college football for over a month and a half on Saturdays. Now is the time to get on board. We are red hot. Entering Friday, a 25-9 all sports run the past few weeks. Get $15 off instantly at 3-day all sports. Steve 15, Steve Merril, wagertalk.com. All right, let's look at those other two top 25 matchups for this Saturday, December the 3rd. At 4 o'clock Eastern, the SEC Championship game in Atlanta, Georgia, LSU at Georgia. And LSU currently number 14. They fell from number 5 all the way down to number 14 last week with that bad loss against Texas A&M. And I said in a lot of shows I did last week here on Wager Talk TV that was the big bowl game for Texas A&M, and it was a dangerous spot for LSU, and it definitely turned out to be that way. And LSU is now out of the race with 3 losses. Both Alabama and Tennessee sit ahead of them with 2 losses, and they don't play this week. Ohio State has 1 loss. So LSU is not sneaking into the championship. They know that their season is over. But with that said, they could still win the SEC championship. So I would expect them to come with their A game here and be focused. In fact, I think one of the reasons they lost to Texas A&M, as I mentioned last week, another reason that was a dangerous game was because they had the look ahead here to the title game. They'd already clinched a spot against Georgia. And they obviously did not perform well last week. And as is often the case, it showed on the defensive side on the line of scrimmage as Texas A&M ran for 275 rushing yards. LSU was not physical on the line of scrimmage. That'll be a problem, obviously, against Georgia, who is the best team in the country right now. They're number 1 in the college football playoff rankings. They're number 1 in my power ratings and basically the odds makers' power ratings as well. So let's see if there's any line value in this game. As we head into the weekend, Georgia is a 17.5-point favorite. The look-ahead line, by the way, on this game last week, a bettable look-ahead line at all the sports books before the games were played last week was going to be LSU minus 15. So you can see how that loss against Georgia has inflated the line a bit here, not only by 2.5 points, but it's crossed over that key number of 17. About a 3 to 4% chance Georgia wins by exactly 17 points in this game. So the difference between 15 last week and 17.5 now this week is substantial. And my database projection shows that as well. Database simulation has Georgia winning by 16.2. So we'll say database 10,000 simulations, Georgia by 16, was 15. Now it's 17.5. So it's basically taking the value out of the line in this game. You do worry about Georgia looking ahead to the playoffs. They know they're locked in. But the fact they didn't win the SEC title last year, I think will have them very focused here. And I'm really not in a hurry to go against the best team in the country in what should be a focused spot. LSU also does not play from behind well. We saw that against Tennessee. Keep in mind that blowout loss to Tennessee back in early October, 40-13. LSU fumbled the opening kickoff. Tennessee picked it up, ran it right back in, instant 7-0. They just couldn't catch up against an explosive Tennessee offense. LSU has a good run-based attack, very mediocre throwing the ball this season. I don't think they're going to have a lot of success through the ground or the air against Georgia. And when they get behind, they're going to have a tough time scoring. One way you might want to think about playing this is a team total. You could look at the LSU team total under in this game. As of Friday, we don't have a lot of team totals out there, but if you do some quick math, it would project around 17 or so. Once again, 17.5 is the spread, 52 is the total. That 17 to 18 range, I would say LSU team total under could be worth a look. If Georgia shows up here, they do have the best defense in the country. All right, one other game that's a top 25 head-to-head matchup. Well, we've got the Big Ten title game, Michigan number 2, obviously. But Purdue is 30-31 in the 2 polls. They don't qualify as a top 25 team. But the other 8 o'clock Eastern game on Saturday night, Clemson, North Carolina, actually is a top 25 game. A little surprising to me because I didn't think North Carolina was going to stay in the top 25 after another outright loss as a favorite last week. But the committee still has them there. And this is number 9 Clemson at number 23 North Carolina, or against number 23 North Carolina. I shouldn't say at because the game is in Charlotte. It's technically a neutral field. It's an in-state game, but we know Clemson will travel as well, if not better, than North Carolina. So this game is in Charlotte, North Carolina, 8 o'clock Eastern on ABC. Number 9 Clemson, number 23 North Carolina. And the question here is, do the Tar Heels rebound? Obviously have not shown up the last couple of weeks. They lost as a 21-point favorite to Georgia Tech. Didn't even score the point spread. Only scored 17 in that 21-17 loss 2 weeks ago. And then, of course, last week they lose that game against NC State as a touchdown, 6.5-point favorite, 30-27. Now, you could definitely make a case they were looking ahead to this game because they've been locked into the ACC title game for over 3 weeks now. So both the Georgia Tech and NC State games did not matter in that regard. Clemson, really bad loss last week. We talked about LSU getting knocked out of the playoff picture. Clemson definitely would still be in the playoff picture right now with the win. They could have very well gotten in with the TCU loss. But they lost to South Carolina as a 14-point favorite. South Carolina, back-to-back weeks, giant killers, knocking Tennessee and Clemson out of the playoff discussion. Tennessee actually has a chance. If LSU is to pull the upset over Georgia, and I meant to mention this earlier, they could leapfrog Alabama since they blew out LSU, even though Alabama's a spot ahead of them right now. So I think Tennessee has like a 0.5% chance of still getting in for what it's worth. Clemson, however, does not. But they're still playing for an ACC championship. The question is that enough for Clemson, a team that came into the season as the fourth favorite overall in the betting odds to win the championship? So they were projected to be one of the 4 playoff teams. When the season began, the 3 heavy favorites were Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and then Clemson was around 8-1. 3 of those 4 teams right now are not in the playoffs. Really incredible when you put it in perspective at the beginning of the season. Michigan, USC, they were all 20, 25-1 even a month into the season. In fact, many of you remember I've been big on Michigan all year. I mentioned back in September I thought they were worth a look at 20-1 to win the national title. We'll talk more about maybe some hedge opportunities in future videos with Michigan almost certainly in the playoffs here, win or lose this week. Clemson, though, needs to win the ACC title here to maybe somewhat have a successful season. We'll see if that's enough. The one edge they do have, though, is a huge defensive edge, and that's been North Carolina's problem for several seasons. UNC can move the ball, although they haven't done that much the last couple of weeks, 17 and 27 points. This is still an offense on the season that's averaging over 37 points a game, even with 2 subpar outings. So we'll see if they wake up, but they'll be taking on a pretty good Clemson defense. Huge pass defensive edge for Clemson. They're giving up 1.5 yards per pass less than North Carolina. They're also giving up over 1 yard per less rushing than North Carolina. So we are getting a much better defensive team in Clemson here. And my database favors them as well. 9.3. The database simulation, 10,000 games, has Clemson winning by 9.3 on average. And the point spread as we head into the weekend is sitting at 7.5. Now, we did briefly see a 7 minus 115 at the opener. We've seen 7.5s all week across the board. Obviously, I would like Clemson more at 7 or less, but I do prefer them either way as we get a couple points in line value, the substantially better defense. And I do think they show up here to win the ACC title. Over under open 62. It's up to 63.5. Clemson team total might be worth a look once again, as I do think that UNC defense is a real weakness. And that would project to be around a 35-28 game is what the odds are saying. So 35 or less, 36 or more. Obviously, the Clemson total is not as appealing because 35 is such a key number. But I do like Clemson in this game minus 7.5. Keep an eye on it. Maybe we get a minus 7 or less by kickoff on Saturday night, which I doubt. But obviously, 7 or less would be even a strong number, but a 4 to 5% chance the Tigers win by exactly 7. All right, those are the 4 head-to-head top 25 matchups for this Saturday, December the 3rd, Championship Saturday. Hope you found this information useful. If you do me a quick favor. Hit the thumbs up, the like, and hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell if you want instant alerts when these videos go live every week, including my NFL Fade the Public video, which is up every Saturday afternoon right here on this channel. The public had a really good Thanksgiving day last week. I did a little bonus video there, 3 leans for you. And then we came back with 4 best bets, Fade the Public, and some 3 additional leans. Public went 1-6 on those. So after a nice 3-0 turkey day for the public, they gave it back last Sunday. And many of you in the comments below said you thought they would. We kind of had a feeling that might happen. Fading the Public went 6-1 last Sunday. So definitely check it out. As you know, it works better later in the season. When I started this video series 2 Novembers ago in 2020, we went 31-8 through the Super Bowl, Fading the Public. We're in that sweet spot once again. And last Sunday, 6-1, Fading the Public right here on this video channel. Check it out this Saturday afternoon. Hit the bell, hit the subscribe and the bell for instant alerts when the Fade the Public video is live this Saturday here on Wager Talk TV. Leave me some comments below. I read all the comments. I reply back. I love the support. I love the insight. Let me know your thoughts on some team totals in these games like we discussed, some prop action. What games you like Championship Saturday, where you agree or disagree with the database math, who you think is going to win. Leave me your best bets, your thoughts below. I love your comments. And also leave me your handicapping questions. I know we have a lot of new viewers, a lot of new sports bettors. 30-plus states the last few years have legalized sports betting. A lot of new bettors out there. We love having you here on Wager Talk TV. It's a great resource to learn to become a winning bettor. If you have any questions, even if they're basic, please ask. There's probably other viewers that have the same question that are shy to ask. So you're doing yourself and others a service by asking those questions below. And I love the reply back to every one of them, and I will do so. Once again, $15 off that 3-day all access. If you are a new bettor, that's a great chance to get on board, sample some all sports winners. A mere 25-9 the last couple weeks here in football and basketball best bets for my clients. And I've got a huge Saturday and Sunday best bet lineup for football. Don't forget college and pro basketball on a daily basis as well. Whether you went Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, make a 3-day and night package with a $15 discount with promo code STEVE15, Steve15. It's normally $59, takes you instantly down to $44, gets 3 days and nights for just over $16 a day. Steve15, Steve15 gets you an instant $15 discount off a 3-day all access. Steve Merril, wagertalk.com. We are red hot, hitting over 70% all sports the last couple weeks. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment below, and I'll be back on Saturday afternoon with your NFL Fade the Public video right here on Wager Talk TV. Enjoy the games. Best of luck on Saturday.